Hello and welcome to the Lost Art Podcast. I'm Paul and I'm here with Gar.
That's a lie. I'm doing the in.
You're doing the in.
Yeah. I just seen your one is first.
Oh yeah, that's mad. We should
Yeah,
just leave
it's
this
been
bit
fucking
in.
ages.
Just leave this in.
We should just leave this bit in. All right.
Absolutely.
Welcome to the Lost Art Podcast. I'm Gar and I'm here with Paul.
That's not a lie. He is here with me. Yeah, I am here with him.
Yeah.
This time.
We're actually not anywhere near each other. We're on complete and utter opposite sides of... we're not actually... We're on the same side of the city, but one of us is further out than the other. How
I
about
don't
that?
even know what side of the city I'm on when I'm out here, to be honest with you.
You're kind of northish.
Yeah, it's very north.
Northeast-ish, aren't you?
But it's so north that it's like, oh, not north side. Just
It's
north.
past that. It's past that. We're in the County Dublin here, I think.
Yes.
Which is better. I'm not gonna lie. It's rough. I had a mad shit happen to me in work this week. Like, it's just, the town is just crazy, man. Town is crazy.
You've started letting people into the pub, haven't you?
Yeah, we have. I put 3 tables aside. I put a 6-seater, a 4-seater, and a 2-seater aside last week just to try it out, and people in most nights taking advantage of it. But you know what? Everybody got the horn over going into the pub, right? And you bring the people in and you sit them down and you're like, sit there and shut the fuck up. Like, you're not allowed up. Like, if you're going for a slash, put your mask on you. You're not allowed to move table. Like, you're glued to your seat, you know what I mean? And after about half an hour, a lot of people are sitting there going like, jeez, we probably should have just went outside. Like, you know what I
want
mean?
to smoke as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, they can throw their mask on and go out for a cigarette or whatever. It's in that regard, it's kind of similar. It's just, it feels weird when you're in a pub and it's not full, or the staff are working, and you can have music on, but it's real low, so you can hear like me walking back in and going like, can I get 4 points of Elton's 2 stout and a gin and tonic? You know what I mean? And then walking out past them with a tray or something.
It'd still be better for some people though.
Absolutely. I mean, especially if it's pissing rainy, but I believe it. So I've opened up, I think, two more tables. So I'm gonna have about 4 indoor tables this week. So you just have to scan people. You have to scan this QR code thing they have with this piece of shit app that the government designed in 25 minutes. It's fucking brutal, man.
Yeah,
it's
I can
so
only imagine.
bad. Like, it's not even an app. It's a website. So it's like a JavaScript app that runs in a web browser. So you have to go to this like browser address and it says, can I use your camera? And you go, yeah. And like, it just opens up the camera. But it has no like autofocus feature or anything like that. So somebody's holding up their QR code and you're holding your camera at them. And it's just blurry and shit. And it won't scan it, and you're like, listen, just put your phone down on the table there for a second, and you're standing there like a fucking prick trying to scan in this QR code, and then you have to turn around and say, listen, can you turn your brightness up? And depending on who you get to, like, brightness, how do you turn brightness up? I was like, oh my god almighty, like, it's a nightmare. And then you have to take all these details, which is fine, but it's not ideal, let's put it that way.
Well, speaking of doing things that you don't want to do.
Exactly.
We are doing an episode today called If We Have To, and it's about bands who either refuse to or just don't want to or have shown a desire to not play a certain song from their back catalogue for whatever reason. Usually it can be the biggest song the band had.
Usually,
that they don't feel represents them and they have to play them, and for all the reasons, because that's the mutant magnet.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm looking through the list here, and in a lot of cases, not all of them, but in a lot of cases, these are some of their biggest songs. That for one reason or another, as you said, might have just attracted mutants or gave a bad representation of the band in the first place, or there could be any number of stories associated with why this group just aren't into performing the song anymore. In some cases, they just stop performing it. Anyway, let's get straight into it. Who was your first choice then for If I Have To?
My first one is one of the first ones that pops into my head that isn't like super obvious. I think we've actually avoided some super obvious ones, but this is Wasp, Animal, Fuck Like a Beast. One of Wasp's most famous songs, if not their most famous song, isn't played live anymore. Not because they got sick of the song. Well, one of them did. For reasons we'll get into now. This is a great song. This is a really, really, really good song. It's like my second favorite Wasp song next to Wild Child, which is Wild Child is one of those montage friendly songs.
Yeah.
It just sounds like
Yeah.
like but for the radio, that's good for radio and it's good for music video. But their first single, Fuck Like a Beast, Blackie Lawless said, we didn't weren't out to try and shock people with this and all the blood all over the stage. I'm like,
Yeah.
stop, will you?
Go away out of that.
Stop telling lies about back then, because I know you want things to be different now.
Yeah.
Because Blackie Lawless found the Lord Savior Jesus
Jesus
Christ
himself, yeah.
in his life, yeah. So due to the lyrical content and overall theme of this song, Blackie Lawless does not want to do it anymore. Now, in his defense, he said, what can I do to be a positive influence? I'm looking at what I'm doing now and I'm trying to create the best example of someone I can be, and I can't do that with 13-year-olds singing. And I'm going to read the lyrics now.
Please.
I got pictures of naked ladies lying on their beds. I whiff that smell, and sweet convulsion starts a swelling inside my head. Don't think he means his head.
Yeah.
I'm making artificial lovers for free. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about that. I start to howl, I'm in heat, I moan and groan, and the hunt drives me crazy. I fuck like a beast. It's a banger. Like, let's be honest with you. It's just an out and out outrageous 80s stupid. It's like the Limp Bizkit of classic rock.
Yeah.
Really. It's weird because this song was removed at the last second by Capitol Records from their debut album.
Oh, really?
After they were about to like release their album, because of pressure from the, at the time, Parents Music Resource Center, the PMRC. They had a list of filthy 15, if you remember, 15 songs that they had a hit out on. I can actually read that list if you want. It's very interesting. Darling Nikki by Prince involves sex and masturbation. Sheena Easton's Sugar Walls for sex. I think that's vague, but obviously not. Eat Me Alive by Judas Priest for sex. I just have a list of the reasons here that they mentioned. Vanity by Strap On Robbie Baby. Sounds like sex, yeah, to be fair. Motley Crue Bastard for violence, actually. There's a random violence one thrown in there. AC/DC, Let Me Put My Love Into You. I don't think I need to tell you what they were on about with that one. Twisted Sister, We're Not Gonna Take It for Violence.
Weird.
That's a weird one. Madonna, Dress You Up. It could have been any Madonna song at that era.
True.
The aforementioned Wasp, Animal Fuck Like a Beast for sex. Def Leppard, High and Dry for drug and alcohol use. I think that probably is more like High and Dry sounds like they're talking about the downfalls of it. But
maybe.
whatever. This parents group, we're not going to listen. Merciful Fate, Into the Coven for a cult rather than anything else.
It's a great song.
Black Sabbath, Trashed for drug and alcohol use.
Yeah.
Mary Jane Girls, In My House for sex. Venom, Possessed for a cult. And Cyndi Lauper, She Bop for sex and masturbation.
Weird.
There's the 15 songs I took swings at. I think they would be all metal. It's only maybe 1/3 of them to half of them. Anyway, they got the song released later. This is what they did. They got other labels to release it by mail order on a single, and it did incredibly well.
Smart.
Proxy sales.
Yeah, smart.
Things. It's kind of weird.
So he just, as he turned to God and he was like, I don't really want to be singing this song about wanking or whatever anymore, riding and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Having sex in the form of an animal.
I'll never get these lads, like Wasp have loads of songs like that. And
that's the thing, I looking through their other songs, I'm like, I think he's just trying to prove to his church friends, I don't do that anymore. Like,
that's my most popular one. Yeah, I'll kill me big one. Yeah, exactly.
He ironically sacrificed that one.
Exactly. But why not start a new band or something? How about that? You know what I mean? You can't just decide one day, especially because of religious reasons. It's a heavy metal band.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The whole thing just doesn't jive. Christianity and heavy metal don't mix. I don't care what anybody says. They don't really mix, you know? And
also, Blackie Lawless, 13-year-olds aren't going to your gigs.
Yeah, you better believe it.
Hate to tell you.
I hate to tell you that 33-year-olds aren't even going to your gigs anymore. How about that?
53-year-olds,
yeah.
maybe.
There was murder in the pub one night, actually, because there was a couple of skinheads. And loads of skinheads wouldn't be known for being the smartest people on earth. And they picked a row with this fella who was wearing a Wasp t-shirt.
Yeah.
And there was more than we had to step in. I was like, what the fuck is doing? They're like, just wearing a bleeding white Anglo-Saxon president t-shirt. And we were like, what? White WASP stands for white Anglo-Saxon president. I said, well, you know, you're not wrong. You're not wrong, but like, what's that got to do with anything? And they were like, it's just, you know, bullshit. It's like, you know, religious fucking political shy. And we were like, yeah, but like, you're the one. That's a metal band, like. And like Wasp themselves have like told 1,000 different stories as to what that stands for. Like,
yeah, it's like NWA. It's different every time you ask them.
Exactly. Like I think the last interview Blackie Lawless gave, he said it's white Anglo-Saxon presidents because that's just, we thought it sounded cool. But he also said, you know, I don't know what was the other one he says, we are sex perverts or something like that, sex pests or some shit, some nonsense like that. Again, he gave 1,000 different names. Had to just diffuse the situation between fucking just some fucking Egypt metaler for wearing a Wasp t-shirt. You know what I mean? Like, because he's fucking wearing a Wasp t-shirt and an Egypt.
He would never have been able to talk himself out of that. And even if he could, the
no.
punks understood him.
Like, so, yeah. and then these fucking mutants, fucking idiots, for like picking a fight over something they had no comprehension over whatsoever. You know what I mean? So whenever somebody talks about Wasp, I always remember that night where you had this, and because I think it had like a southern flag. Had like a rebel flag on the t-shirt or something
right.
as well.
Well, to be fair,
yeah,
that's a two for.
It was a 2 for 1, yeah.
But yeah, look, that's
fucking like an animal for you. That's what it does to you. You get sick of it after a while. You just want to lie down, relax.
Just sing songs, happy songs to 20-year-olds. He released a song called, or an album or something like about Babylon, where he's talking about the Book of Revelations. I'm like, will you know what? I hate to tell you, it's like someone showing me a picture of their kids that I don't know that well. I'm like, I don't care.
I don't even really want to see pictures of like me best mate's kids. I'm not gonna lie to you.
That's fine, that's grand. But I'm talking about like he's like, I'm gonna make them like the Jesus stuff. I'm like, no, you're not.
Yeah, absolutely not.
No,
and I'd love to know who funds these things. This is what always blows my mind. Is that if there was somebody with money behind them, and Blackie Lawless from Wasp was like, listen, I'm going to try this new project. I have this cool idea, and like some kind of heavy metal financier or something like that. Like, okay, but you know, what's the plan? Yeah, what's the plan? What's the plan, Blackie? Well, I'm going to do this like heavy metal opera based on like the Book of Revelation. Like, just instantly, it's not worth the plastic we're going to print it on. Let's put it that way, Blackie. Like, it's landfill. What you're creating here is future landfill. Can you just not?
Well, it's funny because maybe he had some help from his friends in high places to release an album like this.
His white Anglo-Saxon president, mate.
Maybe. Who's your first one?
My first one is Paramore with Misery Business, one of their biggest songs.
Oh yeah,
came out in 2007. It's a great song. I actually bought Riot on LP last week. It got re-released, and it was a decent price, so I grabbed it. Yeah, I read through a list of bands that I hated loads of their songs, and this one kind of shook me a little bit when I was reading. I was like, that's one of their biggest songs. Like, you go to Spotify or whatever, it's in their top kind of 3. It's a huge song, and even if you don't know Paramore the band, you probably know this song because it was played to death. You know, it's a big old song. 2007 came out on the Riot album.
It's a classic punk rock song.
Yeah, exactly.
Pop punk song.
Pop punky. Yeah, exactly. So they stopped playing it in 2018 because there was some lyrics in there that what's the girl's name? Haley, isn't it? Huh?
Yeah,
Haley. Yeah. That she wrote when she was 17. So she wrote the song when she was 17, you know. And there was a lyric in there that says, "Once a whore, you're nothing more, and I'm sorry that's never going to change." And she kind of took it upon herself. It was like, that's kind of slut shaming, you know. Like, it took her like 11 years to kind of to be able to pull the trigger and say, do you know what? I don't like that line. I wrote it when I was 17 years of age, and you know, it's not really applicable. It wasn't applicable back then. It's definitely not applicable for me as a grown woman to be going around saying these things to kids, you know.
Can they not just change the lyric?
Well, apparently for years before this, when they were doing it live, she'd been singing the lyrics differently live, but like the record was out.
You're a bore, but nothing more.
I don't know what she'd done, something like that, when she was doing it live. But like the album's out, you know what I mean? And the record label aren't going to let her go back and change the lyric. They're just not. No matter how much money it's worth. Like, the only thing they could do would be do maybe like what Therapy have done, where they re-record old songs or some shit, you know, they do best of Paramore re-recorded 2022 with Misery Business 2022 on it, you know, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Get to change the lyric then, but isn't it, that's, you know as well as me, like from a DJ point of view, like you never play those new versions of it because they're never as good.
Nope.
They're never as good.
Always, they don't have that youthful exuberance
There's
that you have.
something missing. I went out and I got that Therapy re-recorded things and listened to the Screamager, the one they done last year. It's just shy. It's shy.
Yeah.
It's missing something.
I hate when you accidentally play one of them live. Or live when you're DJing and you get like this, you're DJing on the spot and you get this crappy re-record version. And now it probably sounds a little bit clearer.
Yeah.
But God, there's loads of people that did it. I think like maybe Queensryche might have done it before. A few people did it.
Sick of it all, done it. Yeah. It just doesn't...
Why you're re-recording this stuff? And it's no emotion in it anymore. It's all...
Yeah, it's flat. They've played it to death so many times, and now they go into a studio and try and do it, and they probably have 1,000 little things that, like, I wish I'd done that back in 1980 Splash or 1990 Splash.
And
little
we're like,
flurries.
we didn't notice.
Yeah, and if you're adding it in now, it's just ruining it. It's like, forget, you can do it live if you want. Like,
it's like going back and go, here, do you remember that famous joke I told in school? And it was like, oh, that was great when we were away with the camping trip and you told that joke. It's like, can I fix that now?
Yeah.
I'd rather tell it a different way. People like, what? I didn't expect them to laugh again.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Yeah, that doesn't work. It's over. So yeah, they quit the song 2018. They said we're just not going to play this for a long, long time. Like we're going to let people kind of forget about it, and we might come back to it in the future. But it's been 3 years now since they've done it live. They said, listen, it's sexist, it's anti-feminist, it's
the whole song in general. To be honest with you, has a bit of a murky tone.
Yeah, like, I mean, she's changed her story about what it's about 1,000 times.
Yeah, it does sound like robbing someone's mot and then going, that's what
yeah, kind of. Now, she said, I think one of the things she said that from the get-go was about, the song is about a fella who was getting hard done by a girl. Like one of her best mates, some fella, all his mates knew that like this board was fucking doing him dirty on the side or something like that. Some malarkey like that. But again...
So it was justified.
Maybe. I mean, this is her calling out this board who's acting the bollocks with her friend. You know what I mean? That was the lyric. Yeah. But she's like, still not cool because unless everybody knows what this song is about, knows the story behind the song, it's a bit fucking dark. And now lyrically it fits really, really well. Like I listened to the song again yesterday. Like I can't imagine them singing anything else. But if she's not happy with it,
but it won't be the same. It'd be like Mo telling the Red Hot Chili Peppers to say. To change their lyrics in the song like he did when they were playing in Springfield.
Exactly.
What about what I gotta get to put it in you? Why don't you change that to Hug and Kiss You? They're like, wow, that's much better. Yeah, everyone could enjoy that.
Anyway, that was Misery Business by Paramore. What is your next one?
Quite an obvious one, I think. Probably it's Radiohead Creep.
Oh, it's a big one though.
It's interesting, yeah. Like naturally, Radiohead have matured and changed since this 1992 debut single. They've changed a lot since the bands, even.
Yeah,
and arguably changed a lot since OK Computer, according to you.
Better believe it. We went about 2 podcasts without mentioning that album.
I know, yeah. Well, fuck that.
It's back. It's back.
Radiohead took elements from the 72 song Air That I Breathe, following legal action from Albert Hammond and Mike Hazelwood, who are now credited as songwriters on Creep. Albert Hammond is a famous songwriter, but some people will probably know his son more as Albert Hammond Jr., from the guitarist from The Strokes. Creep is their first big... It was released in 92, didn't do well, and then after Smells Like Teen Spirit kind of started really picking up a grunge, it was re-released and then it exploded worldwide. They grew very wary of the song and like early on, and it probably started to move on even after the song had come out, and they were probably already thinking about stuff that was going to go on to the bands. Yeah. Jesus, it sounds like you're on an oil rig.
There's a load of fucking seagulls, right? I can tell you, we have to pause the podcast to tell you what's going on. They're after putting these fucking planter pots down all along my road, and they're lovely. They have flowers and, you know, plants and shit in them, you know, just kind of busy the road up a bit. And for some reason, I don't know why, because seagulls don't eat flowers or plants. There's fucking seagulls everywhere, right? This is the last 3 or 4 days, all day and all night, and they sit in the chimney screaming, and it comes down the fireplace and everything. So yeah, just to add to the normal dogs barking and parrots squealing, now you've got seagulls into the mix as well, because it's warm out, so I have the window open, and but they're fucking everywhere. Now I do live close to the sea, so there's always the odd seagull around, but whatever it is about these planters,
You're trying to lure them in to be your mates.
that's my last thing I want is a fucking seagull. I can't. That's just too screamy and bitey. That's just no.
Yeah,
I
well,
can't.
you not see that as a challenge.
Absolutely not. I nearly had one a few weeks ago, and someone else took him. I found one that got hit by a car, and another fella took him off my hand. They brought him up to the vet, and I was like, "Thank Jesus Christ," because I knew that was going to end up going home with me. But no. Yeah. Anyway, Radiohead.
Yeah, they didn't perform it for many years, many years. They actually wrote My Iron Lung off the bends in response to a request from BMI that do another creep there, will you? And they were like, right. So if you listen to the lyrics of Iron Lung, it is directed at the success of Creep. And yeah, so this is our new song, just like the last one, a total waste of time, My Iron Lung. They said that they had seemed to be living out the same 4.5 minutes of their lives over and over again when they're playing that live. They said it was incredibly stultifying, which is a fantastic word. He said that it broke their heart every time that they would see audience members. They would get up and leave after Creep was finished. Oh, saw that, like people walking out. That's crazy.
I remember reading an interview with Noel Gallagher once, and he was talking about like loads of bands giving out about playing their most popular songs, and he was saying, listen, like there comes a time you just have to pay the fucking rent. He said, like, you can write the greatest songs in the world, and he referenced Radiohead directly. He said, like, the lads write great songs. It's not necessarily my exact cup of tea, he said, but if you went to a Radiohead gig and they didn't play Creep, he said, just 99% of the people's going to walk out, you know.
Yeah, and well, I guess they were probably trying to make that happen.
Yeah, I think so.
It was much like something that we another obvious one would be Horse Outside.
Yeah,
by Rubber Bandits.
He's just disowned that completely now. He's no interest in it. Yeah,
because that brought along a lot of people to his gig that were like Horse Outside.
Yeah.
Horse Outside.
Yeah, and he even tried to write another one then with the fucking the Black Man in My Crew or whatever it's called song. Like,
I didn't like that one. Didn't think that was that good.
I didn't think it was good, but that was definitely him trying to replicate that Horse Outside formula, you know. And it didn't
sound like it actually.
Yeah, and it just didn't kick off. So we went back down that weirdo fucking noise route, which suits them better. Dad's best friend and all.
Spoiling Ivan was a bit like Poppy as well, and that was very interesting. Very sad song about a boy whose parents were junkies. Anyway, much like Rubber Bandits, Radiohead had that big massive hit that they tried to distance themselves from. You know what? Green would have said that. Tom York has gone on many times been asked about that song, and I won't go into all the things he said, but he did do a remix this year of Creep.
Weird.
And put it up, and basically he elongated it to like double speed,
or
half speed, I should say. Sorry, half speed, double the length, and then add a lot of synths over it. It has to be one of the worst things I've ever heard.
It sounds pretty bad.
One of the worst things I've ever heard. Now it's genuine. Give it a listen. Give Creep a listen. It's like one of the last things they uploaded on Spotify. Yeah. It's impossibly hard to listen to, and when the synths come in, they're way too loud over the song. I'm like, why? What's the point of this? You don't like this song?
Just to bury it a bit more, probably.
Yeah, maybe. Well, if you look at perform, they still do it. They do it very, very rarely. And I went up to listen to one of the last times they did it was 2008, I think, in South America, because I think they're a little bit more like, they know South American people maybe are like, you're not going to play Creep? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
There's many people here. We will make you play.
We will have an actual riot. Yeah,
maybe they're just more demanding about things they loved from the 90s. I think.
Yeah,
and yeah. So I watched it, and it was he does give it a bit of effort. You know what I mean? I remember I was at a Radiohead gig, the last one they played in Dublin, and there was people going, "Play Creep." I heard them shouting.
It's like when we went to see Killing Joke, and your man had the LED board that just said "Love Like Blood."
Life Like Blood.
Life Like Blood, yeah. Life Like Blood, flashing in an LED screen.
He ruined that for the whole crowd, because I remember
even the band hated it. Yeah,
they talked to each other, and they came back and were like, fucking this and that, whatever.
Yeah.
And they never played that song, and we were like, wow, that
Good.
absolute mutant.
Yeah, well enough for him. Well enough for him. You ruined it for everybody.
I wanted to hear it. It's still a banger. That's another song that they don't really associate with themselves. Like, they like it and it's grand or whatever,
Yeah.
but like it was a, yeah, they went, oh, no, too much pop. Anyway, that was Creeper Radiohead. Who's your next one?
My next one is Oasis with Wonderwall. I was just talking about Noel.
Speaking of
the Devils.
How do
Oasis.
you feel about this, by the way, yourself?
Wonderwall.
Like, no. Like,
What?
the idea of playing like your big hit. It's hard for us to know because we'll never get.
It's not ever going to happen. Well, I'll tell you what, right? So, with 20 Bulls, had this one song that done well enough for a while called Bow Down. And it was, whenever we played a gig, people would shout to play Bow Down. And there was a couple of gigs where we had to play it like twice. And once we even had to play it 3 times, right? And at the start, because we were only young fellas and saps, we were like, this is amazing. It was great crack. Yeah. But if it was like that every night, you'd soon want to just give that song away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so I'd say, when you're a young band and you crack open a smasher and the world takes notice and you're like, holy shit, like I can afford me rent or whatever, and music is finally paying for my life and I'm able to live, a little bit more comfortably or whatever, like you'll play that song forever. But when you're maybe 4 albums later and there's people still shouting for that song, it's going to make you feel a little bit useless that you haven't even come close to touching that, you know?
What I'd imagine is, like, if I had to, I'd be thinking, like, this song is now a contract between me and the people who have paid for a certain lifestyle. That sounds very capitalist, but like, I could understand with a cover, like Sinead O'Connor's biggest breakout song was a cover, and a cover from someone that she doesn't like, who was abusive, to her, according to her, and I'd well believe it. But I could understand how you ditched a cover, but it's your own song. It has come from you, the band. There might be other members of the band that really love playing it. You probably didn't think to ask them. maybe you did.
Yeah. Well, I know that happened with Wonderwall. I don't think Noel didn't hate playing it. There seems to be 2 sides between the brothers. So Noel hated playing it for the first couple of years because he said that he was so over on drink and drugs that he would always play on electric guitar. And it never sounded right to him, and it bothered the shit out of him. And he said every time they finish a gig, when he'd walk backstage, he said, we're never playing fucking Wonderwall again. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work. And the rest of the band were happy enough. They were like, thank Jesus, like, thank God, because the rest of the band didn't like it either. He said it took them like 4 years to realise, like, why don't I just grab an acoustic guitar and walk out with the acoustic, and we can do it that way. And when he started playing an acoustic, the whole thing settled down and it sounded better. And he said the band,
what would have been an acoustic song and all.
Exactly. But like, apparently the band still didn't like it. The rest of the lads didn't like it at all. Liam fucking hated it, right? Liam hated that song, and he hated it for probably not the most obvious reason. Not necessarily because it was popular. Well, part of the reason was because it was popular. It was that it was their big giant song that exploded. And everybody fucking loved it. It was obviously played to death. Everybody knew every lyric. It was huge. And in Liam's head, it didn't represent the band well. It wasn't a rock and roll song. It was more of a kind of introspective, kind of soft song. You know, a real kind of open yourself, let yourself kind of out there song. And he said, like, we're a rock and roll band, and this was meant to be, you know, a kind of deep, not necessarily deep album cut as such, but it was meant to be fucking just, you know, on the album, and some record exec heard it or whatever the fuck it was. One of Alan McGee's minions, and said, like, that's the single, that's the one we're putting out there. And the band were like, are you fucking serious? Like, because we're a rock and roll band. Can we not do like?
But they just lost to Blur. Like the first single. So they wanted revenge.
They wanted something. So Liam was like, this song that took over the entire world didn't represent the sound of the band. And he said it, and in the States apparently they were looked upon, even to this day, they were looked upon as almost like a one-hit wonder.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, they probably are actually. Yeah.
Nothing else ever took off from them. They never reached the heights that they did in like the UK, Ireland, or parts of Europe. In America, the Wonderwall was a big smash over there, huge song, but nothing
It was
followed it up.
college radio.
Exactly, yeah. Nothing they released followed it up. So like they were doing decent sized gigs and stuff in America, but like nothing compared to what they'd be doing over this side.
They
And
didn't quite break America.
They never. It's still incredibly difficult to do to break America. It's still super difficult. But he was saying that like they'd be over in America and they tour the States 2 or 3 times off the back of every new album, you know. And he said they'd go and do an interview on a radio station or an interview on a television show or something like that, and they'd be introduced as like and here's Mr. Wonderwall himself, Liam Gallagher, and he said after a while he was like, I just can't shake that fucking song, that doesn't sound like anything else we ever put out, and we fucking like the lads don't like playing it, I hate fucking singing it, and all they want to hear is Wonderwall. And he said something similar to what you said earlier, is that like we could have went out like lights up, walked out, played Wonderwall, lights down and walked off, and everybody would have been fucking happy in America.
Yeah,
you know,
just that song. That's all they really wanted.
that's all they gave a shit about. He said it's just so overplayed that they just hated performing it. Now, at the same time, to this day, Oasis makes, I looked it up, £5.5 million per year in royalties, even as a band that don't exist anymore.
Wow.
And you have to assume that the vast majority of that is Wonderwall. You know, £5.5 million.
Or the album in general, this album in general.
£5.5 million per year. The last one I found was from I think last year, 2020 or 2019. £5.5 million per year in royalties comes in to the band.
Mad. They've only got 2 good albums, and if you really ask me, what I think is they've only got 1 good album.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we talked about this on B-sides before, where Oasis B-sides were good enough to be albums, so they actually put an album together of B-sides. Master Plan,
the album is better than Be Here Now.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. It's just the quality of songs that Noel Gallagher was pumping out on a daily basis was just astronomical back then. Now I couldn't tell you a single note of a song he's played with his own band. Same with Liam. Couldn't tell you. Don't really care.
There's a few okay songs I've heard, but like realistically, they're not quite world beaters.
Yeah,
and it's mad. I watched that. That pop documentary that's on Netflix now, and they have an episode about Britpop, and they do go into this war between Blur and Oasis.
Yeah.
And the death of Britpop and how Be Here Now was tragic, but they didn't mention OK Computer once as being one of the major things that killed it. They probably thought to themselves, well, Lost Art are probably going to mention it 10 times.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We don't need to.
Let's not wear it out. let's not wear it out. Anyway, that's Wonderwall. The lad said, listen, they play it, but they fucking despise it, especially abroad, because that's all people knew about them, and it just felt like they were just kind of re-establishing that kind of boundary around themselves, that they were one-hit wonders by performing all the time, because they do a performance on TV about a new album on the TV station, like, can you play Wonderwall? And they'll be like, that's fucking 10 years ago, mate. Like, can we do something else off the new album? They're like, we'd really rather you done Wonderwall. You know, so they were always fighting against that current.
We don't need to push that song anymore, it's already out.
Exactly, it's fucking painful. Anyway, that was Oasis with Wonderwall. Who was your next one?
My next one is Cleanse the Soul. This could be a number of songs actually off South of Heaven by Slayer, but I'm picking this one as the one that is the most hated by Slayer. Kerry King didn't like the whole record, and Dave Lombardo himself as well sort of backed it up. They said when South of Heaven came out, they're
fucking mad because
we didn't like it as much as Rain and Blood, because Tom backed off too much with his singing, or should I say he added too much singing. And they said, honestly, it's one of my least favourite Slayer albums. Kerry King, I would never bother listening to Kerry King on his own, but the fact that it's backed up by other members. Now this album is like a half-speed Slayer album. It sounds like they were listening to Black Sabbath's discography on tour when they were doing Rain and Blood. I think it sounds more evil.
It's fucking great. This got Dead Skin Mask on it, hasn't it?
This has got
I'm just looking here. South of Heaven.
Seasons in
what
the
have we
Abyss.
got in here? Ghosts of War. Spill the Blood. Yeah, no, Dead Skin Mask. No. Okay, so just the title song itself is good enough for this album to be classed up there.
Mandatory Suicide and Ghosts of War are fantastic as well.
It's a cracker little album. It's a great album.
No, it's brilliant. They've never played this song live, and they've never played Distant Aggressor live because it's a cover. That's fair enough. They don't want to do a cover, and they're probably always touring in and around Judas Priest anyway, so they're not going to be throwing that song out. But this, they particularly went out of their way to never play because they hate it. And Kerry King says, "I fucking hate this stupid little happy riff that we play at the start of it." And if you listen to it, the riff before it does change, it does have like this that doesn't actually sound like Slayer.
Yeah,
weirdly, I'm not pushed on this song either, to be honest with you at all. But Lombardo also said I don't really like this album. He said he felt like there was fire on all the records, but the lights started to dim when we released South of Heaven. So,
interesting.
Not that at all. Like, yeah, he wouldn't have wanted to play this song either. Even though the drumming on it is pretty decent. Like, that's Slayer. They're decent. Drumming Savage on all that stuff.
Kind of one of the key points of Slayer, really.
Yeah, South of Heaven was like their first album where they had undistorted guitars and more relaxed vocals. And I think really what the lads were trying to say, but they didn't want to say it, was this is the last Slayer album that Hanneman had writing credits for on every single song. Him and Kerry King were the primary songwriters on all the previous albums, but this one saw Tom Araya become more involved in the writing process.
He put a little bit more soul into it.
Just probably wanted to slow. He probably like, I'm fucking wrecked singing these songs, lads.
Bollocks.
I am wrecked. Yeah. Like now he's like.
It's definitely more doomy, yeah.
It is, yeah. I think it's great. I don't know, like I think they're being very disrespectful to Slayer, who they are,
disrespecting themselves, own selves.
King, in fairness to himself, he goes, it's not all everyone else's fault. He says, I feel like I was lackluster on the album, and I don't like Tom Araya's new vocal style on it, so it was never put. Funny enough, this album went gold the exact same day as Rain and Blood. They were both certified gold on November 20th, 1992. I think that's just like when you release a new album and everyone digs into the back catalogue.
Yeah. The new fans go, what's the one before it? Yeah.
Weirdly, I have more plays on my older song since releasing the other one.
You would do, yeah.
I naturally was going to happen, like, but way more. I think people like whenever I started pumping out like advertisement for the second song, people just went, "Oh, what's the other one?" Like, yeah, that's way better.
Well, imagine that like if someone goes onto your Spotify and they press click on your new one, like it's automatically going to line up the next one as well. So you're getting free plays off your new one as well. You know,
it's mad, yeah. So I think that's what happened with that. Like all the new fans. Bought this and the other one, so pushed South of Heaven finally to go gold.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's an interesting one, Slayer, with not just Cleanse the Soul, but in a lot of cases the whole lot of South of Heaven. Who's your next little? I don't want to play it.
My next one is Brass and Pocket by the Pretenders, or just Pretenders.
I don't like that. I don't like that song.
Chrissy Hine hates it. Never liked it.
Really?
Yeah, never liked it from day one. She said like the song doesn't know what it is. You know, is it a rock song? Is it like Motowny kind of soul? Is it pop? You know, what is it? Doesn't know what it is. She said I kind of sang differently on that than I sang on anything else. Yeah,
it does, to be fair. And I used to hate it, so I kind of know what she means. I went through a phase of hating it because it kind of has an annoying melody.
Yeah,
but then you can kind of get with it then after a while, and I like it now. But yeah, I could see.
Yeah, she's just...
The Pretenders were kind of more new wavy punk.
Yeah, exactly.
This was probably, yeah.
Well, this was the first number one of the 1980s. It was in the charts from like January 1980 for a couple of weeks. Got a lot. It was their third single they ever released. It was obviously their biggest song. But it's such a... She apparently when they were finished with it and they were picking singles, she told the producer, a guy called Chris Thomas, she said, like, I'd rather die than release the song as a single. Like, that goes out over my dead body. That song goes out. I don't mind it being on the album, but it cannot be a single. And she was just vetoed by the record label. Record label, like, it's going fucking out right now because it's a little whopper. We're putting that out. And
you are going to love it. Trust me, you're going to love it. She's like, I wrote it. We wrote it. Yeah, but you're going to love it.
Yeah, you're going to love it. So... apparently she did. Strangely enough, she wrote that song with someone else, and then after that, she didn't let anybody else write songs with her for years and years and years. It kind of soured her so much. She's saying now that she's like, I don't hate it now because I see the reaction it gets off other people, but from a personal point of view, she said, I fucking hate playing it. I hate hearing it. And it was also, there was a big thing where people were like, it is the birth of girl power, you know, female empowerment in music. And because, you know, the lyrics like I'm special and all this kind of shit, and so people are like, oh, you know, fucking girl power type of stuff. She's like, that's not what it was about at all. It's more tongue in cheek. And she's like, even in the video, I'm like winking at the camera and all, like the whole thing is fucking garbage. And they're asking her, you know, where did Brass and Pocket come from, the name? And apparently, cause she's American, she was on tour with one of the label mates in the UK, and they had to go into a laundrette, and one of the bands that they were touring with, they were all collecting their laundry in the same day, and one of the guys in one of the English bands was standing beside her collecting a pair of trousers, and he said, did you find any brass in the pocket, like, because he's missing a load of money or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Was there any brass in the pocket? And she was like, that's really cool, I don't know why, that's really cool, but I'm going to write a song called Brass and Pocket. And that's where that song comes from, for no particular reason. But yeah, the whole thing was supposed to be kind of a tongue-in-cheek rock and roll kind of story song about bullshit, and it just exploded on top of her.
Yeah.
And once again, it wasn't an example of what that band sounded like. So anybody who picked up that album, like, a lot of them would have just skipped to that song and skipped the rest of it, you know.
Yeah, which is a shame because their other songs are better.
Great band, but yeah, just because it wasn't, they were, like you said, like a post-punk kind of new wavy type of feel to them, you know. And this kind of poppy, almost Motown thing is thrown out. Like, again, a great song, but doesn't sound like Pretenders, doesn't work in the context of the band. But she said, listen, I see people dancing and loving it now. She said, so I get into it, but like, I'd never listen to it again.
Chrissy Hynde doesn't suit this is going to sound real weird, right? They've tried to put that female empowerment kind of hero on her, and she keeps rejecting it every time. Yeah, really badly, actually, like to the point where she's like, no, it almost sounds contrarian. Yeah. So when someone said, is this, she was like, no, absolutely not like that as well. Then, if you remember, maybe about 5 years ago, she made some comments about, well, if women didn't want to be attacked, you shouldn't be wearing stuff like that, or it doesn't matter what you wear, something like that. And everyone kind of went, I'm looking at it here because I was like, Brass in Pocket singer Chrissy Hynde.
Yeah, there you go, Mr. Wonderwall.
It says it there. There you go.
Fucking craziness.
I don't know the full story of what she said, but it was very heavy on the victim blaming, and I think it was involved in what people were wearing and stuff like that. And well, if you go out in some of the clothes I see people out nowadays, like, come on,
shut up, yeah. Shut up, you fucking stupid Elwin. Like, just shut your fucking mouth. You know what I mean? I'm sick of telling people that. If you have something to say that's like related, then just shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. If you have like an opinion that's kind of contrary to the accepted about stuff like that, you know, like when it comes to victim blame and shit, just shut the fuck up. If you have it, keep it to yourself. Do you know what I mean? All you're gonna do is hurt your fucking career. Look at fucking Morrissey. You know what I mean? Oh, God, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. You fucking idiot.
In many ways, like, shutting the fuck up is a bit like playing Brass and Pocket. Like,
exactly.
Do you want to keep things going or not? Like,
do you like playing gigs and paying your rent? Like, yeah. Did you read that interview with Ryan Adams, where he's basically on the internet begging for people to hire him to write songs?
What?
Yeah, like something came out there last week. He said, like, I know I'm broken, I'm damaged goods. Like, he said, but I'm gonna lose me home. I'm gonna lose my little indie imprint.
He did something bad. He did something bad.
Something ropey. Yeah, he done something ropey a couple of years ago.
Oh, I'm not a big fan of Ryan Adams because everyone went mad about him when he first came out.
He exploded up. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Brian Adams. They were like Ryan Adams.
Straight up, dude. When people were going mad about Ryan Adams, it was like they're spelling Brian wrong, and because Brian Adams spelled his name wrong as well. So I thought,
because he spells it with
B-Y.
B-R-Y, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, fucking Brian Adams, like, is having a big resurgence here. All these, like, indie kids loving fucking Ryan Adams. And,
ironically, Ryan Adams did a very popular version of Wonderwall.
Yeah, he did, actually. He did. And apparently, there's another thing, is that when Oasis were playing Wonderwall live. This is another thing I read the other day. Noel had heard Ryan Adams' kind of arrangement of it and preferred it to the original. So when Oasis were playing after that, Ryan Adams' kind of cover version came out, Noel preferred his arrangement of it, and they started doing it that way live instead of their own original way.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird. But yeah, Ryan Adams on the internet saying like, they're going to take my house out, my car, I'm not going to be able to feed my children. I need someone to give me a break here. And like, if you have any, if you need like songs written or production.
Women alleging abuse against him.
Something like that, yeah.
No one wants your songs.
Yeah, so he's begging for people to hire him to write songs or do production or something like that. He's like, I need to make money or else I'm going to lose everything. Like,
but like, it's not like, why should anyone do you a favour?
Yeah, he made a bollocks of it. Chap, you know. I don't know any of the details of it, because as I actually bought a couple of Ryan Adams albums in the charity shop the other day, so he doesn't get it off them. And
I'd just like to make that known that he did.
He's not even get tuppence at him. But if anything, I've taken food out of his mouth by buying the fucking second hand.
You should repeat that on Twitter or send him pictures of your thing with the receipts that don't go out towards sales.
Exactly. Yeah. Now someone else. Now I don't ever have to buy a new copy of this album because I bought one for €1, mate. But yeah, again, I don't know jack shit about it. But
people do that with Harry Potter books. They're buying them secondhand, so that J.K. Rowling
she didn't get it. Yeah, listen. I'm a big believer in fucking second chances and third chances, you know. But after your third chances, there shouldn't be a fourth one, you know. Everybody makes a bollocks of something in their life, and I don't know. I'm just gonna shut the fuck up. I'm going to shut the fuck up. Who's your next one?
My next one is the Foo Fighters with Sister Europe, and not just Sister Europe.
They should regret every song they ever wrote.
Yeah, well, I don't know what this Sister Europe song is, but I know it is one of the songs that Dave Grohl is talking about when he says, I was kind of pissed at myself for that record. 4 of the songs were good, and the other 7 I've never played again in my life.
I read that interview with him where he was giving out about one album. Is that album? He was saying that it was just fucking bullshit, most of it. Yeah, I read that interview.
Yeah, and finally he sees it from our point of view as well.
Yeah, that he's dirt.
There is like two good songs and 2 okay songs. I don't know where he's going with his fucking 4 good songs. So around the time of recording this album, they were huge. They were probably at their biggest. I think that they were ever at. Yeah, but behind the scenes, there was a lot of tension. Taylor Hawkins had a heroin overdose while on tour with the Foo Fighters.
He's too handsome to be doing heroin.
He's too in the Foo Fighters to be doing heroin.
Yeah, that's true. He should be overdosed on vitamin water or something. But like, fucking too handsome to be doing fucking gear. You know what I mean? Like, if you're good looking, you shouldn't be doing gear.
Imagine going back to Dave Grohl going, I know you've seen this before in your other bands, so I'm sorry about that. I probably brought up a few bad memories for you. He's like, yeah, I probably did bring up a few bad memories for you, all right. Yeah, with my whole other band imploding with the death of the singer. So they...
Where do you even get heroin? Like, where do you even get heroin? Do you know what I mean?
In America?
Yeah.
Tour? Jesus.
Like,
I imagine it's quite easy.
Do you reckon?
Like, but think about it. Like, they could have been like playing with some ska punk band, and they'd all have heroin.
Instruments made of heroin, just to fucking stop the existential crisis of the music they play affecting them.
Yeah, like whatever Sublime did after your man did too much.
He
heroin,
died.
They probably, but they were probably on tour with other bands, and they go, they're actually.
They got some when they got the other singer in. They used to say Sublime with Rome, and no one knows who Rome is. Why did they even write that? The new singer bloke. No one even knows who you are, mate. Right. Why is it Sublime with Rome? Just be the singer Sublime, like they're 10 times bigger than you. That always bothered the shit out of me.
That is mad. It's replacing the singers. We've talked about that a lot of times before, so we won't go too far into that now. Although I keep wanting to talk more about Static X, but I can't. So they decided to write a new album. Write a new album while he was getting the heroin out of his things. He said that like this is the gas thing, right? He said that at the time the songs were so bad, and these aren't even the songs he's talking about now. Yeah, the ones then. So they were making an album that they said wasn't working at all. So he said didn't sound familiar, didn't sound like Foo Fighters. I'm like, yeah, that's arguable. It didn't sound. It might have actually sounded all right if it didn't sound like that. Not that Foo Fighters are bad. It was very, very dead center of the middle of the road. And so at this time, Dave Grohl decided to accept an invitation to play drums for Queens of the Stone Age. Sorry.
Yeah.
And he said that it caught the bandmates by surprise. They thought this is definitely the end of Foo Fighters, like the absolute end. So he said, no, it's not. It's not the end of the Foo Fighters. Absolutely not. It will never be the end of the Foo Fighters. Now, if I hear Dave Grohl saying that, that doesn't mean I'm going to be in the band.
Yeah.
To me, Dave Grohl could fire everyone and restart again as the Foo Fighters.
Because that's what the first album was, wasn't it? He played everything.
Yeah, pretty much. So like, I'd be more like, I'm not going to be out of the band. I wouldn't say the band's going to be over, because you could go, no, the band will be over, but you're fired. Everyone's fired. Yeah. Everyone's fired because that guy did drugs. So after getting back from the tour with Queens of the Stone Age, he had more of a kind of revitalized energy to do songs.
Yeah.
That he pumped out at the time as like, oh yeah, I'm pumped to do this album. And weirdly enough, the album was actually received quite well, because it's a much more pump heavy album. But there's nothing worse than listening to a Foo Fighters album and you hit a non-single. And you listen and go, ugh, this is boring.
Yeah.
And that's what all these songs are. So I picked that System of Europe because it's a stupid name and it's a nonsense song, to be perfectly honest with you. Well, from what I heard, I had to pick a song that I presumed where he never says which of the 4 songs. So the 2 singles, and I think that one at the end maybe is one.
Yeah.
So I know for a fact this is one of the ones he's talking about.
Yeah, being garbage.
Pretty much. So I just picked this one out of a handful of other garbage fests.
Just roll the dice on that album.
I growled the dice.
Yeah.
And with that, who's your next one?
My next one is very close to the mark here, and it's Nirvana with Smells Like Teen Spirit.
I have a lot to say about this.
Obviously. 1991, Kurt doesn't see it as his best work by any means. He
probably not.
He thought even the B-side, Drain You, was a better song than Smells Like Teen Spirit.
We did that on B-sides, didn't we?
Yeah, Drain is killer. But he thinks that he didn't hate the song, but he hated what the song represented. He said that we've got better songs on this album than Smells Like Teen Spirit. He said the problem here was that MTV took that video and force-fed it to everybody 24 hours a day, to the point where that just became this kind of singular moment in time where it summed up like an entire movement for an entire generation. And he hated, he said sometimes he could play it and it's fine, but he could see the crowd reaction between like the hardcore kind of Nirvana fans and the people who are only there to hear that song.
Oh yeah, you would. You just like disheartenment with them with the song isn't
exactly
anymore. Which is so dumb, because they really genuinely do have so many good songs. Even just on the album alone. Like.
I think you'd be hard pushed. I could go out on the stance here, and I think you'd be hard pushed to find a bad Nirvana song on any of the regular albums. To be honest with you,
I don't even think there's really any bad Nirvana songs.
Yeah, I mean, even the stuff on Incesticide, even some of the rougher stuff is interesting to hear.
Yeah,
you know.
But you're kind of knowing that they're kind of demo-ish, and
exactly.
So you don't give them the same sort of you put them under the same microscope.
Exactly. You know, I've never listened to the proper original mix of In Utero.
Oh yeah, I think I did like years ago, whenever it was released on the internet.
Yeah, when they leaked it out and then they pressed it onto vinyl just to try and get another batch of sales out. But I never listened to the original mix of it, and I need to rectify that, because I fucking love that album, and I want to.
Yeah, do you know who didn't love it?
Everyone, the record label, Geffen.
No, yeah, but fucking Kurt Cobain as well moaned about that album as well. This is what annoyed me, right? I like Kurt Cobain, right? I really do, but he's such a contrarian with anything of his that does well. And like, if like, I was gonna say, like, stop playing it if you don't like it. Well, he kind of did, but like, stop.
Yeah.
Like, okay, forget about in Utero for a second, because he definitely stopped playing that. But don't play the stuff you don't want to play. Or if you're too big, you can always pull out. Like, okay, you've got contracts and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, like, touring is what probably killed him.
Yeah, I know that Michael Stipe had a big thing where he was trying to write some songs together, because Kurt was obsessed with fucking, what's the bleeding Nirvana album with Night Swimming, no, the R.E.M. album with Night Swimming on it. Automatic for the People, yeah. He was obsessed with Automatic for the People, and he just kept listening to it over and over again. Like, that was his thing. And that's the way he wanted the next Nirvana album to go. Apparently it was in that direction. Apparently it was found in a CD player when he blew his head off. He was listening to it that day. And Michael Stipe was like,
I would not have put him as an R.E.M. fan.
It's mad, isn't it? Yeah, he was obsessed. He fucking loved that album.
Because he hated Pearl Jam.
He hated Pearl Jam, yeah. He loved him, and Michael Stipe were fucking good buddies, and Michael Stipe used to send people over to Kurt's house with like airplane tickets to, you know, fly 2 hours fucking over the hill to come and hang out with him and maybe write some music together and stuff. And Kurt was always saying, yeah, deadly. And then he'd never show up. He wouldn't get in the plane. He'd just go and do a fucking load of heroin or something instead. But apparently, for all Kurt giving out about fame and blah blah blah, he fucking loved it. He loved it.
Say, like, I know he has a thing to keep up, but I mean, he seemed to just moan about everything that he did that went popular. He hated.
Yeah,
But stop doing things then if you really, really, really don't like it.
Exactly.
Because when you're young and you read those, you're like, yeah, man, that's cool. But when you get older and you read that, you're like, man, like, stop playing then.
Yeah, so like apparently he was obsessed with the Pixies as well, and he wanted to get into this kind of Pixies style of writing songs, right, with the kind of quiet to loud dynamic kind of jumps and stuff like that. So he obviously took that fucking Boston More Than a Feeling, which is Kingsman Louie.
But I think In Utero was the one he finally did play the whole Pixies album he wanted to play, because he said that.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
He finally.
But this is quite Pixies. Yeah, this is quite.
Yeah, just in the way it's recorded, even with Butch Vig, like it makes sense, you know. And so he seemed to be following these kind of roads laid out by his heroes, and if he got bigger than his heroes following their road, he'd give out about it.
He'd get embarrassed, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And he'd say, oh, that's not what I wanted, blah blah blah. Like, Smells Like Teen Spirit was a fucking phenomenon, you know. And yeah, it might have been too big for him. It might have been too much too quick. At least it didn't happen on the fucking first album, because God knows what would have happened. But at least he'd got some international touring under his belt, and he dealt with some record labels and stuff like that by the time Nevermind came out. But yeah, apparently he had this thing where he didn't think it was good work, and MTV had fed it into people, and he felt like he was kind of regurgitating almost MTV's products by playing it all the time. You know, he never intended it to be that song. Apparently, that wasn't even Geffen Records. Or like this, the whole idea was they were going to slip "Smells Like Teen Spirit" out just to try and get into some college radio stations and stuff like that. And Something in the Way was going to be the big song. That was the one they had millions upon millions put aside for the promotion of Something in the Way. Wow. And really? So Smells Like Teen Spirit was meant to be like a little placeholder, like the second single or whatever the fuck of the new album was going to be Something in the Way, and that was the thing that was going to be fucking like they expected the sky to crack open with that song, but it was too late. So Smells Like Teen Spirit had done it first, and then they'd already planned on releasing Something in the Way, which once Smells Like Teen Spirit broke, and they were like, oh well, this big heavy bombastic sound has really sold, maybe Something in the Way won't work. It was too late for them to swap the singles. They were already printed, they're already pressed, they're ready to roll out. So like they might have done better doing Breathe or something, you know what I mean, as the next single. But no, it was Something in the Way came out, and it done very, very well, but nothing like Smells Like Teen Spirit, because it was too different from the one that had hit. You know, it's almost the opposite of what Oasis were giving out about. You know, where the one that hit is pretty indicative of their sound realistically. You know, and the second one that comes out then to follow it up doesn't, like, still does the business, but not like they thought it was going to. You know, because I know when they were doing tours and stuff like that, they'd go on tour gigs, they were playing that song, and they'd cock tease everybody by just doing the intro. And they do that intro like 8, 9, 10 times in the gig, and then just stop and go into another song. Like, he loved tormenting people with it. That's
what you should do, and then play the song. Now you've built it up for yourself. Play it then, and that means you get to
poking at people. Yeah,
that means you get to be like cool, mad
exactly.
Cool.
Yeah, well, in his head he thought he was just like, he was poking holes into like what MTV were doing. you know. And I mean, listen, it's still one of the biggest songs ever, but he just wasn't a fan. And as I said, I don't think it was the fact that it was popular for the sake of it being popular. I think it was the fact that he thought, because MTV were playing this video 24 hours a day, that it almost wasn't his.
Though. I remember
it was constantly. I think he felt like it wasn't his anymore, you know. So anyway, that Smells Like Teen Spirit. Who is your next one?
My next one is Rainbow in the Dark by Dio. This is kind of an interesting one because he never refused to play it live, and he never disliked playing it live. But it sort of plays into this playlist and podcast because he didn't want to record it and he didn't want to play it when they were playing it in the rehearsal rooms. He hated it. Absolutely hated it. So Rainbow in the Dark is a fucking brilliant name for a song. It's absolutely brilliant name for a song, and it makes so much more sense on so many levels as well, because it's about him not being able to achieve his full potential in Black Sabbath. So like a Rainbow in the Dark is like fucking to call it like blowing on the wind or something like that. It's
pissing in the wind,
pissing in a river. It's all just it's pointless, like, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And as well as that, he was in Rainbow, so
Yep.
So it's Rainbow in the Dark really also sounds like the guy from Rainbow in the Dark band.
Yes.
Black Sabbath. Brilliant. Anyway, he said he was kicked out of Rainbow for refusing to sing stuff like Since You've Been Gone. I don't know, like that wasn't, I'm not entirely sure if that was out at the stage or what. I really don't know the history of that, but songs like that he would have had to end up doing. And he's like, I can't be singing that commercial shite.
Yeah.
So when Dio, the band, wrote Rainbow in the Dark, one of the newer guitarists, I think, wrote it. At the end, when he'd finished his vocal take, he was like, I think we need to delete this from the tape now.
Really?
So
Wow.
I'm really, really mortified about this song. It sounds like pop rubbish. And they convinced him. It's like, no, stick with it. So they moved on to other stuff as well.
Yeah.
While they continued to produce the song. And when he heard the produced version afterwards, he used to hate playing it, like even to rehearsing it.
Yeah.
The more and more they rehearsed it, because he wrote it. Apparently, he wrote the lyrics and or a vocal melody within seconds of hearing the song when they played them, and that kind of interested him. But after a while, especially moving towards the recording process, and after hearing the tapes back, he just went, "Lads, we're not doing this song. It's shite, absolute shite." And they were like, "This is the best song ever made." He's like, "It's absolutely not even the best song we've done today." So they convinced him, and then after they had the full produced version of it, he went, "This is really good." Like, he's like, "Yeah." They were like, "Yeah, I told you it was really good." And it went on to be like their most successful single, I think, possibly above Holy Diver, even as well. So it's mad that he refused to play it in a sense, until he was coerced by his band,
Confronted with the final product.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
So it's a very short, I won't play it, but I just found that very interesting when reading it, and for like, it was a very short journey of hating the song and not wanting to play it. But how close, if they hadn't been able to convince him, that song would have been deleted.
Yeah. If he wanted it there
song.
and then.
Yeah.
And obviously he'd have the clout to get them to delete it. So must have been some fucking
what happened was,
job.
One of the other band members was in charge of recording the album, I think, or was closer to the producer or something like that. So it wouldn't have gotten deleted.
Yeah.
Basically, they were saying, we're not deleting this and you have to listen to it. So if Dio had been the one in the thing, it probably would have pressed delete on it.
Maybe, yeah. Well.
See you later. But it's mad. I love that song. I just love everything about it. And I don't think it's too poppy. The poppiest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it is a little bit. But it's not Since You've Been Gone.
True.
It's also not as dark as heaven. It's not as dark as heaven and hell either, though. But still, look. Rainbow in the Dark is a savage name for a song. And it's a savage song. And it almost didn't see the light of day. It almost was a rainbow in the dark forever. Who's your last one?
My last one is Madonna with Like a Virgin.
Does she not like doing that?
She doesn't like doing any of her old songs. Any of them.
Yeah,
She hates them all.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me, actually.
She hates Holiday. She hates Material Girl. Now she's given different interviews.
You know what? When you're in your fourth decade or more of your songs, your teenage songs probably sound dumb. Like I went to look, I would have presumed that Depeche Mode Hate Plane just can't get enough. They don't. They don't mind it at all. So I couldn't put that on the playlist. But I can imagine Madonna singing "Holiday." It would be so nice. Like the lyrics are sort of garbage-ish on a lot of them songs. I love them. They're
fun. But it might as well not be the Madonna we remember or know now. You know, and I think that's
she's not quite she's not quite Radiohead now either. Like, but
exactly. No, she said that like she'd have to be paid a fortune to play those songs. She said like if someone offered me $30 million, like I'd play those songs.
Play them?
No. Doesn't deal with them. No. Apparently she's worked Holiday into a couple of gigs on a few occasions, but
remixed, is it?
Probably some sort of updated version of it. But Like a Virgin, she despises. Material Girl, she despises. Seems to change. You catch her 1 year and she'll give an interview saying like, I fucking hate Like a Virgin, and 6 months later she'll give an interview saying Material Girl is the worst thing I've ever done.
She is very outspoken about her own stuff.
She just has this thing.
Talked about that on worst covers where
exactly she has this thing where she's like I'm old and I've done books with me tits out and you know talking about riding and songs, and how am I meant to be singing a song called Like a Virgin, you know? And then she said that like there's multiple times where she'd go into a restaurant and whoever the fuck is in charge of the music would put on like Material Girl or something, like thinking she wants to hear her 30-year-old music, you know?
That happens in a pub I know. We all do it.
Exactly.
I've done it.
Yeah.
I've done it when famous people come in and go, shit, after the gig, we better play the songs. And they're probably like, they're not quite Madonna people though. You know?
Exactly. But yeah, she just has this thing where everywhere she goes, people see her, you know, if she's in a mall or something like that song will bleed and come on, because it's just kind of, it's fodder music, you know. And I think she wants herself to be taken a little bit more serious than that kind of bubblegummy shy she was pumping out in the 80s. So she's just left that era of herself behind. You know, she's evolved past it, and she just it's an interesting take as well, because she's one of those people that has so many kind of different incarnations that like surely there has to be a large percentage of people who buy tickets to go and see Madonna to hear those songs, but they're not going to hear them, you know. They're going to hear you know, cowboy shite or whatever fucking stuff she was doing, you know.
Did you write the book of love?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Faith in God above.
Yeah, it's shocking.
Bye bye, Miss. No, it's shocking. Like that. I don't know, but yeah, like I don't know. Like she's now doing whatever. Like she probably did like Electro Clash for a while. It's probably she's probably doing trap now. Like she won't give up. Like I loved how Madonna reinvented herself. She was the queen of reinventing herself for a while. Yeah. But you can only do that so much while you are being so like, if she had a calmed the fuck down and took an acoustic guitar out for her last album, I would have swear to God I would have played it. I would like be interested if she calmed down. Yeah, but she's lost the ability to push things forward, so she's catching up now, and it's sort of embarrassing when anyone.
Yeah, she's a couple of years behind.
Like I think it was embarrassing when like Metallica did it. It's Metallica. When it's embarrassing when any band tries to catch up. So for a while she was setting the standard. Give yourself a break, Madonna. Take out an old acoustic and play some nice songs. Yeah, I mean, chances she can probably play a couple of instruments by now, like reasonable, you know. With the guitar, all right, yeah. Yeah,
well, you know, write a few of them, couple of fucking ABC songs, and bang that out, you know, and see what happens.
Get a Savage songwriter, like whoever. Get Lady Gaga to. Actually, no, they won't. They don't like each other. But get someone to help you out, whatever, because she does get people to help her out. Like, but,
exactly.
Like Madonna doesn't have to be over, but she has to stop running behind everyone else.
Yeah, she's definitely a swine for that. Like I said, she's a couple of years behind the trend, and she'll release an album, you know, a fucking dubstep album or something will come out next. You know, it's a bit late. It's a bit fucking late.
No, she's a bit like Kylie Minogue does it as well, but Kylie Minogue's quicker.
Yes.
And then you got someone like Grace Jones who will just do whatever the hell she wants.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. I
would just love to tell Madonna, it's like, Madonna, you have the ability to do a Kate Bush. No, not really. Let's be honest, but close enough. Yeah, near enough. If you really, really try hard.
Exactly, like something fucking dark, you know.
Yeah, like she did it with Frozen that time, or the Ray of Light album. Where she got that was the first time she was. I saw her really reinventing herself in the latter day Madonna.
William Orbit, wasn't it?
William Orbit getting ahead of the trend, and it was brilliant.
Get someone else like that in, you know. Get DJ Shadow in or something. Come up with something cool, you know. But anyway, that was it. That was If We Have To, which is songs that artists do not like to perform for any number of reasons. If you like what we do, you go to patreon.com/Lost Art Podcast. That's a monthly subscription-based model where you get access to all of our live shows during the lockdown, a lot of exclusive podcasts, videos, loads of bits and bobs up there to keep you cool on these long winter nights and keep you warm on the cold winter evenings. I know, some shy. They're there. If you don't like that, you got the Ko-Fi, and you can tip us for our work. Please tip us for our work, because it costs money to do this. All of our services, we've talked about this before, even in order for me and Helmut to record a podcast, we have to glue 4 different pieces of software together to make it work, and it's a pain in the hole, and it costs money. So if you like what we do, boys, a point, the link is there in the text, whether you be on Spotify, whether you be on Apple, whether you be Google Music, whatever app you're on, the text is there, and you can throw us a few quid to keep us going and keep the wolves from the door. It makes a big difference. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with another one. As we said before, we were doing shows every week. We can't do that right now because of the way work is, so we're just going to get them to you whenever we can, and we'll be back to you. It's realistically probably in about 2 weeks' time with a delicious fresh one for you. Thank you very much, folks.
Thanks. Bye.